At the beginning of the story, we see Julia and Oscar, two scientists who were trapped in ice, doing some experiments in one area. For this, they were showered with icy water. They had to put a bomb in it and create some explosions. Then, Julia got a call from headquarters. They were warned that there had been very heavy casualties at their location. A dangerous storm was about to come, so they had to hurry. Julia and Oscar needed to leave quickly. Suddenly, a Russian submarine was detected circling close to them. They felt some strange and loud sound. Even they could not understand much. The most surprising thing was that the waves of the sea from below were rising upwards. Julia's scanners began to act strangely, and the ice around their camps also started breaking rapidly. Before leaving, Julia wanted to send her research papers to raise the issue, but the storm was too close for them, so Oscar told her to leave, quickly. He dragged her to the snowmobile. At the same time, the submarine captain discovered that this sound was actually of some living thing. They immediately started trying to avoid it, but suddenly, a very large object became visible under the water, and the submarine collided with it. Meanwhile, Oscar and Julia on the snow above were trying to escape quickly because the ice was breaking down. But unfortunately, the snow ahead also started collapsing. Their snowmobile, which was their only way to escape, was burned to ashes and sank into the water. Soon, huge explosions followed. Their camp was also destroyed, and the remaining scientists slowly started drowning and dying. On the other hand, the submarine was also continuously getting damaged. People were holding on to their seats with great difficulty as everything was shaking violently. After some effort, they managed to fire their weapons and tried to break free. In the light of the blast, they saw some huge tentacles in the water. Then, a man looked through the glass screen, but something suddenly collided with it, and he fell away, badly injured. He fainted. Before the submarine could complete its mission, it seemed like it might drown. An officer sent an emergency message before losing control. Soon, the headquarters of the Russian Navy received the shocking news of the submarine's disappearance. Because that submarine carried very important weapons, the Navy had only two choices left: either save it at all costs or destroy it completely before it was too late. If they couldn't save it, then there was a rescue team to fly out, and they decided to send it. Viktor was chosen to lead this mission, as he was the brother of the submarine's captain who was stuck underwater. His family was very worried. They feared that Viktor too might disappear there. His mother was getting extremely tense. That's why she gave Viktor a watch. It had once belonged to Viktor's father, who was no longer in this world. She told him, "This is yours now. It will protect you wherever you go. Take care of yourself." That night, when Viktor reached the docks, he came to know that his father's old friend, Admiral Olshansky, was also joining the mission. Now Viktor started worrying, thinking that Olshansky was too old for such a mission. He thought, "This old man might die, and then my name will be glorified instead." As soon as Viktor and the crew members boarded the submarine, they began complaining that they had been denied their leaves and called back earlier than expected. On the other hand, Julia and Oscar were lost in a snowstorm, trying to catch a signal from Julia's phone. But Julia got distracted and wandered away to She was about to fall into a deep ditch when Oscar caught her just in time. On Julia's phone, the signal finally picked up an oil rig nearby. As soon as she got the signal, she made the call. But because of the snowstorm, there was too much noise from the rig, and the people on the other end couldn't understand her. After a while, the signal dropped, and the call got disconnected. Oscar was now very frustrated. He fired a flare gun into the sky, but soon fell to the ground from exhaustion. The next morning, the rescue submarine finally reached the place where the first submarine had disappeared. After a lot of preparation, they entered the water. The ship's crew noticed that Admiral Olshansky had taken Viktor to a private room. Some senior officers were also present there, and Viktor was given a report to read. Everyone became very upset after going through it. Soon, news began to spread that the old submarine had completely vanished. On the other hand, Julia and Oscar found a buoy stuck in the snow. It was actually a special device, the kind that floats in the water and sends signals to the surrounding ships. Then, an idea began to spark in their minds. They were hoping someone would find them. That help would definitely come. After this, they stopped wandering here and there and stayed in one place. When the submarine picked up the buoy's signal, both Julia and Oscar immediately started moving in that same direction. Suddenly, a lot of whales appeared circling around the submarine, but the crew members carefully tried to go deeper without hurting them. Then, one whale accidentally hit the screw head. Admiral Olshansky immediately ordered the crew to turn on the sonar. Viktor strongly disagreed with this, but still, the sonar was activated. The whales moved a little farther away, but in just a blink, they came back even closer. The crew couldn't understand what was happening, and then suddenly, all the whales disappeared. It was discovered that a strange, low-frequency sound was spreading in that area. Suddenly, the seabed itself began to rise, and out of the darkness, a massive creature appeared. Its giant tentacle moved violently, and, with just a single strike, it killed one of the whales instantly. The terrifying sound echoed through the water, but the submarine crew couldn't even hear it. Then their radar began giving off a signal, a warning that a massive creature was about to collide with their submarine. Olshansky assumed it might be an enemy ship approaching. That's why he immediately ordered the crew to fire. But Viktor didn't agree with this order. Instead, he told the crew to hide quickly. The submarine dove into a crack in the ice wall. Each time the submarine scraped against the ice, it shook violently, and the radar's sound grew louder and louder. Those wearing headphones could feel the painful noise piercing straight into their ears. Just then, as strange sounds echoed, the enemy began chasing them more aggressively. The crew was forced to stop searching for a way out because suddenly a massive wall blocked their path. But there was one relief. The unknown enemy chasing them suddenly backed off. Meanwhile, the crew discovered new damages in the submarine. Olshansky angrily scolded Viktor, accusing him of taking reckless risks without thinking. Now, they had no other option left. The only way to fix the submarine was to resurface above the water. Far away, Julia and Oscar were shivering near some rocks, trying desperately to keep warm. Suddenly, the sound of breaking ice echoed, and the submarine slowly emerged from the water. As soon as the hatch opened, the crew rushed out to help the survivors, embracing them with relief. But soon they realized these two weren't from the same submarine that had been attacked earlier. The crew shared this with Viktor, who listened carefully. He checked the buoy for confirmation and then went to speak with Olshansky. Olshansky frowned and said, "Give them some food and leave them here. They might be spies from another country." But Viktor's heart softened. He couldn't abandon them. So he brought Julia and Oscar inside the submarine. Repairs were finished quickly, and once the work was done, the submarine descended back into the water, heading toward the buoy's location. After a medical checkup, Julia and Oscar were finally given food. Viktor then spread out a map, asking them where their camp was located and whether they had seen anything unusual. Julia hesitated, then explained that they had witnessed massive explosions nearby. Viktor's heart sank. He immediately thought, perhaps this was the very reason why his brother's submarine had gone down. The crew began discussing their future plans. But Olshansky interrupted sternly, saying, "We need to turn back. Whatever appeared on the radar earlier could return at any time. If we face another attack, we might not even have the chance to send an emergency signal." Viktor, however, was restless, desperate. He wanted to find his brother at any cost. He ordered the submarine to head toward Julia's camp. Furious, Olshansky pulled Viktor aside. "This is the second time you've made a reckless choice," he warned coldly. "If it happens again, everything will be lost." Viktor, still determined, whispered to one of his companions, "We must hurry, because if another submarine—" If someone is alive, then he must be short of oxygen. There must have been some survivors. Just then, Julia heard a strange sound. Oscar said, "It was the sound of a sonar, a sound that is looking for another submarine." The search continued for some time, but then the radar showed that the strange enemy was in their pursuit again. Viktor told the crew, "Find a hiding place, just like before." But this time there was no place around them. However, there was an oil rig nearby. So, Viktor thought of hiding there. When the submarine was in a pool of water, getting ready to surface, all the workers of the oil rig were shocked to see the huge tentacles rising from the sea. They immediately raised the alarm. The tentacles began attacking the rig, and the whole building started to collapse. Massive explosions followed. The workers panicked and tried to run away, but they had no place to go because the entire structure was breaking apart. As soon as the submarine's contact with the rig broke, Viktor used the periscope and started trying to see what was going on. What is happening? When he saw the big tentacles, when he saw the rig being destroyed, he became afraid. He sent this scene to the screen so that the whole crew could see who they were fighting and how big their enemy was. When the rig and that strange monster were completely destroyed, it again started chasing the submarine. After this, they had to turn the submarine around immediately. Olszewski began to think that Viktor's showing that big monster to the crew was his third mistake, and he said straight out, "From now on, I will take over the leadership." He quickly ordered, "Fire 2 torpedoes at it," and they hit the target directly. On this, Olszewski proudly said, "This is how the work is done." But her face soon wilted like a dead flower when an officer reported that the enemy was still there. It was alive and moving forward in rage. More torpedoes were launched. Another explosion followed. The main target was hit again, but even this was not enough to kill the monster. The monster moved closer to the submarine. Olszewski was afraid and could not do anything. Then Viktor once again took command. He told the crew to make the submarine run as fast as possible. They survived most of the monster's attacks, but a tentacle hit the submarine, which caused heavy damage. The people working inside were badly injured. Viktor himself hit his head and started feeling dizzy. Short circuits broke out in the computers, and one computer even fell on a man. The submarine began to sink, and the monster took advantage of this opportunity, launching another strong attack. Suddenly, the missiles in the compartment exploded. A severe fire broke out. The crew quickly sealed the area, shutting off the ventilation completely. 7 people stayed behind, trying to put out the fire with the help of extinguishers. But the tentacles— Another massive blow brought the submarine down fast. It started falling. The radar showed that the beast had surrounded them on all sides. When the crew looked carefully, they realized that the monster was a Kraken. Stories about the Kraken, the giant octopus of the seas, had been written in ancient times. And now, one of those stories was right in front of them. They had only one last missile left. They knew they would have to use it very wisely. The crew began discussing what to do next. Viktor said, "Take the submarine into silent mode. Marine animals usually hunt by following sounds. That is why, even in the torpedo room, the workers had to stop their task of extinguishing the fire. But as they did, the levels of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide began to rise dangerously. The Kraken's strange voice communication was piercing into the officers' ears, making the pressure almost unbearable. In the torpedo room, some people whispered, "Will we really die like this? Suffocating?" But luckily, Viktor's plans started working. The submarine grew silent and slowly. The Kraken moved away. Now they were able to return to their work again. But by then, the fire had already spread so much that it was no longer possible to extinguish it with just a few extinguishers. Some people were saved from the fire. They started panicking, and then Viktor told everyone, "Empty the compartment. Whatever is burning, let it burn. Just save your lives. When some officers were coming out of the fire area, one of them was badly injured, but the rest of the crew helped him through the door. At the very last second, the door was closed tightly so the fire could not spread to the rest of the area. In the torpedo compartment, the fire was finally extinguished by controlling the pressure. But even though the flames were put out, some people trapped inside could not be saved. After this, those who were still fine were put to repair work, and those who were injured were taken away to rest or sent to their rooms. Oscar and Julia helped treat the wounded, gaining the trust of the crew even more. Later, Viktor asked the crew for their thoughts. "What should we do now?" Everybody said, "We should go back. We don't know the location of the second submarine, and we have no protection to avoid the Kraken." Olshinsky then reminded Viktor, "Your father was a hero. He once saved people in a submarine incident. He was martyred." After much thought, Viktor also agreed that it was best to return. When the submarine finally started heading home, Viktor sat quietly and read the last letter his father had written. Just then, Julia came into his room. She looked around and noticed some birds there. Viktor told her that he needed to go check his oxygen level. Julia then asked him for a map. She pointed out all the locations where they had seen the Kraken and the path toward their camp. She also showed the location of the old sightings, according to stories where this beast had attacked many ships before, but then suddenly disappeared. That is why many scientists believe the Kraken had gone into a deep sleep somewhere far below. Julia said softly, "The bombs we used. Maybe they struck the Kraken's hidden home. Maybe that's why he has awakened. If we want to stay alive, we must turn off our sonar, otherwise he will come for us again." Because Julia had deep knowledge about the Kraken, Viktor asked her, "Do you have any idea about my brother? Where could his submarine be?" Julia explained, "The octopus always drags its prey to its home. That place must be their camp. He should be somewhere near there." Before they could say more, an officer rushed in and interrupted. He said, "We've found a clue. While in silent mode, we recorded a sound. Listen carefully." The crew gathered as he played the recording. Everyone could hear it clearly, a faint but steady knocking on metal. Someone was tapping again and again, trying desperately to send a signal. The crew tracked the source, and it was confirmed to be near Julia's camp. This meant only one thing. The other submarine still had survivors. Viktor immediately called everyone and said, "Look, our soldiers are still there, locked inside that submarine. They are struggling between life and death. If we don't help them, if we try to save someone, then who will save us? Do not think that I only go there for my brother. I want to. If any of you are there, if it were so, I would have done the same for a man." Thereafter, he told his companions directly ordered the submarine to reach Julia's camp. Suddenly, the machine and the walls, nuts and bolts started coming out. Glass and the lights went out. This meant that the submarine has gone into deeper waters, because of which from there they took the submarine a little higher. Then an officer noticed that we were doing something. "We have reached a different place." Viktor said that we should send a mini-submarine to this to get a good look at the place because mini-submarine pilot in last attack. When he got injured, Viktor said that I will go myself, and by then Olsen's command will be under will stay in. Mini-submarine Viktor and 2 leaves with the officers. As she were going into deep water, because of pressure they heard noises coming from the metal of the submarine, she started giving in. Because she was the first one in such a depth, we're going to the bar. The pressure soon became that submarines started affecting them. That is why if they don't get anything quickly, they will have to go back. Then they will have to go from somewhere. He heard a voice. When he went in that direction, it turned out that there were thousands of sunken ships there. This means that Julia's theory and the stories are absolutely true. After all, another submarine was found, and its damage was repaired. Let's check. The happy thing was that the front part is still fine. This means there might be some people hiding there. They called this mini submarine as an old submarine. I tried to connect with him, but there was so much pressure. It was very difficult for me to do this. Finally, after a lot of effort, he established a connection. Viktor put on a diving suit and went to another submarine with the help of connection. He went. Before opening the hatch, he snorted, and he was very happy to go in because the crew was still alive. So was his brother Alexander. He sent this news to the main submarine, and everyone there started celebrating happily. Alexander thought they had found a submarine must have been put on silent mode so that the Kraken may not get the attention of the person, and in the middle of it, he, Viktor, sent the signal. As many people as he could, we sent as many mini-submarines as we could fit in, but it will take 2 rounds to save everyone. Viktor decided that he would go to his brother's will, stay here, and give a mechanic the last he was sent with the pilot to the submarine, put a tracker on the front of so that their location is not lost. But then he remembered that the Kraken was also following this signal, can catch it, after which it can be locked. When the mini-submarine took off from there, when it was turned off, the whole submarine shook for a moment, but did not fall down. Soon, they reached the submarine and rescued the people. The treatment has started. The submarine is running. The pilot was not fit to make a second trip. Julia asks Oscar to help. Oscar had previously worked in a submarine. He agreed too, when the mini-submarine left from there. When he came out, Olszki saw in the radar that the Kraken has begun to move again. On the other hand, Viktor and Alexander were go in search of dangerous weapons. His seniors had asked for it. He go to the destroyed area and get the code from the safe. But when he took it out in the computer, when I tried to enter the code, the system stopped working. I didn't. But Viktor wasn't ready to give up. Was not ready, and after pressing a lot of buttons, afterwards the computer turned on. He saw that these weapons are still working. The signal emanating from the weapon can be detected by the submarine, caught it, and followed that signal. While doing this, we reached there. But the main submarine, everybody was scared because the Kraken, it had come very close to them. The crew quickly from the submarine to the bottom of the ocean landed and went into silent mode. Krek threw a large rock at the submarine, because of which the submarine got damaged and the water started to enter the compartment, and Kraus doubted whether he was in silent mode. How long will you be able to keep it? Soon, the submarine reached Viktor's location, and the tracker was accidentally turned on while docking was going on. It's done. Tracker main was going to attack the submarine. I was about to. But when I got the tracker's signal, he then proceeded towards his cave. Olszki ordered the crew to quickly reach the spot, take advantage of the situation, and go upstairs. In the meantime, room with weapons through Viktor Pipe, who was trying to reach the Kraken. It was blocked due to the attack of Alexander voices the dog in mini-submarine Suni and told his crew to leave, while he started waiting for his brother. Finally, Viktor enters the weapons room. Reached there, and he put the coat inside. The missiles started pouring in, while Alexander was putting the coat in the computer. Weapon loaded. It was taking some time to happen. Meanwhile, the Kraken found them. Everyone was on his way, were mentally prepared for the attack. When its tentacles moved around the submarine, both brothers are talking to each other and each other for their old fights. The Kraken takes a beating. I broke half of the submarine. But that part was already empty. The Kraken was about to attack again. Both brothers pressed the button simultaneously, so that weapons can be fired. Now in water submarine. When he started to enter, Viktor quickly got behind the pipe. Through went back to Alexander. The weapons were soon going to explode on their own, so both brothers tried to get out quickly. Let's do it. The submarine was sinking now, and it was making a loud noise. Water is coming in the corridor due to waves, because of which both the brothers got separated. Viktor searched for Alexander and found him. Saw a hand coming out of the water. Viktor immediately caught her hand and took her to his started pulling. me closer. Until Alexander was right, Salamat did not come to him. Both brothers climbed the stairs and entered the mini-submarine and closed the door so that water doesn't come in. Now only 2 minutes are left for the blast, but the mini-submarine could not be launched. When they were with the main submarine. When the joints started falling down, Victor, I remembered the emergency lever. As soon as I pulled it, the mini-submarine finally disconnected. Then he hurries out and takes off with his weapons. The shockwave that came out after the explosion destroyed. The submarine was turned around in the sea, above the main. Everybody in the submarine is safe and sound. We're waiting for him to come. After some time, everyone. The spirits of the people were breaking down when suddenly the water. I started seeing some bubbles. That mini-submarine, it was. She who had finally come up. Eventually, all of them were saved and both brothers died together. Meet your mother. If you like the video, then like it, do it. Subscribe to the channel. See you next video.